There is a voice inside you. It doesn't shout, it whispers. Yet it shapes your entire life. Most people are listening to the wrong things every day, the noise of the world, the complaints, the doubts, the fears, and eventually they begin to speak like the noise. But what you speak, you become, and what you listen to, you begin to believe. This is why we must be careful with both, because what enters the ear will soon shape the heart, and what leaves the mouth will soon shape the path. Speak only what you want to grow, because every word is a seed. If you speak anger, you plant conflict. If you speak gratitude, you plant peace. If you speak fear, you water doubt. If you speak truth, you light the way. So ask yourself, what are you planting in the garden of your mind every day? Are your words thorns, or are they flowers? The words you repeat every day, they're not just sounds, they are spells. Each one is a small command to the body, a direction to the mind, a signal to the soul, and the world listens too. There is great strength in choosing silence over noise. Sometimes not speaking is louder than a scream. Silence allows you to hear not just others but yourself, because in silence the truth rises. Most people talk only to reply, but wisdom speaks only when it adds peace. Before you open your mouth, ask, is this true? Is this kind? Is this necessary? If not, let it pass like a cloud in the wind. Each morning the world offers you a choice, to speak chaos or to speak clarity, to echo the storm or to become stillness. Choose stillness. You must also protect what enters. Your ears are like gates to your temple. Would you allow a snake into your home? Then why allow poison into your thoughts? Gossip, negativity, noise, these are silent thieves. They rob your energy. They drain your spirit. If you must listen, listen to what uplifts, a word of courage, a voice of wisdom, a moment of quiet. Let these things be your daily food. Let them nourish your spirit, and above all, listen to the voice within. Because the loudest noise is not always the clearest, and the quietest voice is often the wisest. The voice within is always there, but only the still can hear it, and only the brave will speak from it. Speak every day, not with arrogance but with awareness, not to impress but to express, not to dominate but to liberate. Let your words rise like incense, not smoke. Let them calm, not choke. Let them build, not break. Because in the end, every day you speak. You are not just talking. You are writing the story of your life. Make it a story worth repeating. The voice that comes from your mouth is not random. It is a reflection. A mirror. It shows the world what is going on within you even when you don't realize it. If a person constantly complains, it's not the world that is broken, it's the window they are looking through. If their speech is filled with bitterness, it is because their heart is holding something heavy and unresolved. If their voice trembles with anger, then somewhere, something inside them has not yet healed. In this way, your voice does not lie. It is an honest reflection of your internal world. The choice of your words, your tone, your rhythm, they are all expressions of your state of being. You don't need to tell the world who you are, your words already do. But the mirror works both ways. What you say reveals your inner world, and what you listen to begins to build it. Just as your speech shows your soul, the voices you allow into your mind slowly shape your thoughts, your beliefs, and your emotional state. Imagine spending every day listening to voices that tell you you're not good enough, not strong enough, not worthy. Eventually you begin to echo those voices, even if they are not true, because the mind becomes what it is constantly fed. So you must become conscious of both directions of this mirror, what is coming out of you, and what is going into you. Don't speak from your wounds. Speak from your wisdom. Don't listen to noise that makes your soul tired. Instead, surround yourself with voices that reflect peace, clarity, and purpose. When your words align with truth, your inner world becomes light. When your ears are open to what is good, your spirit grows strong. It is not just about speaking beautifully, it is about being beautiful from within, and then letting that inner beauty shape everything you say, every day, again and again. There is a quiet force that shapes your life more than any sudden event repetition. Not the loud, dramatic moments, but the small, invisible ones that happen every single day. A phrase you repeat, a voice you hear, a story you tell yourself. Over time, these things become your truth. What you say once may pass like a leaf in the wind, But what you say again and again becomes part of your soil. The words begin to take root, and those roots begin to grow into beliefs often without your permission. This is the power of repetition. A person who tells themselves, "I'm not good enough," only once may forget it by the next morning, but if they say it every day, even silently, even without emotion, it carves a groove in the mind. Eventually that groove becomes a path, and one day they wake up walking on it, not knowing how they got there. The same is true for strength, for love, for wisdom. If you say, "I can grow, I am learning, I am enough," and you repeat it gently, consistently, not with pressure but with presence, something deep begins to shift. The repetition becomes a rhythm, the rhythm becomes a belief, the belief becomes your way of being. Repetition is not a trick, it is a tool. Used unconsciously, it traps you. Used with awareness, it transforms you. This is why it matters what you say out loud, and even more, what you say silently to yourself. The words you repeat are not just memories, they are instructions to your future self. Your mind is always listening, your soul is always receiving, and eventually your body follows, so choose carefully. What you speak every day becomes your path. What you hear every day becomes your mirror. Repeat what lifts you, echo what grounds you, say it softly, say it often, and say it like it matters because it does. Every word you speak is a seed. You may not see the result today or tomorrow, but once spoken, it falls into the soil of your life. And that soil does not reject anything, it receives whatever you plant. Kindness, doubt, anger, love, all of it is accepted. All of it grows. The only question is, what are you growing? If you walk through your day planting words of fear, words of limitation, words of judgment, even if lightly, even if jokingly, those seeds do not vanish. They settle quietly into your subconscious, and in time they bloom, maybe not in ways you expect, maybe in how you carry yourself, how you speak to others, how you interpret silence, how you handle discomfort. But they always return, and the same is true with words of faith, words of compassion, words of clarity. They also find their way into the deep soil. They don't need to be loud or forceful. Even a soft whisper, if true, will take root. A sincere word of peace, spoken daily, can turn into a garden within a place of strength, calm, and direction. People often speak carelessly, unaware of the power they hold. A single harsh sentence, spoken in frustration, can plant years of insecurity in another person. A single sentence of truth, spoken from the heart, can free someone from years of inner war, and so, each time you speak, you are sowing something, not just for others, but for yourself. You cannot plant thorns and expect flowers. You cannot water weeds and expect fruit. Your life becomes what you cultivate. If you want peace, speak peace. If you want growth, speak growth. If you want wisdom, speak only what carries weight, even in silence. Even when no one is listening, your words are doing their work, in your thoughts, in your body, in your spirit. Every sentence you choose is a choice toward what kind of life you're growing. Speak as if every word has a consequence. Because it does, not in fear but in mindfulness, because one day the harvest will come, and you will walk among the results of everything you've said. There is a kind of listening that has nothing to do with sound. It happens when the mouth is closed, the thoughts are still, and attention becomes sharp as a blade. In that space, truth reveals itself not through volume, but through stillness. This is the language of silence. Most people are uncomfortable with silence. They rush to fill it, with opinions, with stories, with noise. They believe silence is emptiness, but in truth it is full of signals, full of answers, full of things that only make themselves known when everything else becomes quiet. Silence is not weakness, it is not avoidance, it is power under control. When a person is silent, they are not withdrawing, they are observing. Listening beyond what is being said, feeling the energy between words, sensing the hidden meaning in a conversation. Silence allows you to hear what noise tries to cover. In arguments, the one who speaks least often understands the most. In discomfort, the one who sits quietly usually sees what others miss. And in life, the one who listens deeply walks with fewer regrets, because silence teaches, it reveals, it shows what the surface cannot express. There are things you will never hear unless you stop speaking, There are answers that do not arrive in sound but in awareness. Sometimes the moment you stop talking is the moment the real conversation begins, the one between you and yourself. Silence sharpens perception. You begin to notice your own reactions, the subtle movements in another's expression, the tone beneath the tone, the truth behind the words. It invites clarity where confusion lived. It opens space where pressure once filled. To speak with wisdom, you must first listen with presence. And to listen with presence, you must learn to respect silence not as an absence, but as a teacher. Because silence does not lie, it does not flatter, it does not interrupt, it simply waits, and shows you what is. In a world addicted to sound, the one who knows how to be still becomes the clearest voice. Not because they shout, but because their silence is meaningful, grounded, a mirror that reflects only what is real. There's a moment, brief and quiet, between what you feel and what you say. Most people never notice it. They rush past it, reacting to the world with words that haven't passed through understanding. And so what comes out is often not truth but emotion, not clarity but noise. Words become weapons instead of bridges. To speak with intention means you do not give your voice away to impulse. You pause, you breathe, you look inward before projecting outward. And in that space, you choose your words not to control, not to defend, not to impress, but to express something rooted, something real. When people speak only to respond, they are not truly listening. They are waiting for their turn to speak. Their words are shaped by defensiveness, pride, or urgency. But when you speak from reflection, your words carry the weight of awareness. They are fewer, but fuller, softer, but stronger. Speaking with intention is not about rehearsed words or perfect sentences. It's about alignment between your heart, your mind, and your mouth. It's about knowing why you're saying what you're saying, not just saying it because you felt the need to be heard. You can feel the difference. Reaction feels sharp, rushed, often loud. Intention feels calm, still, present. When someone speaks from intention, even a whisper has power. Even silence between their words speaks volumes, and the more you speak with intention, the more aware you become of how easily words can build or break. You begin to choose not just what to say, but when it is better to say nothing. You stop speaking to win and start speaking to understand. You stop trying to prove a point and start offering presence. In that shift, your words become medicine, not because they are always soft, but because they are always true. Not because they please everyone, but because they come from a place beyond ego, beyond emotion, from clarity. This is the discipline of intentional speech, to recognize the power you hold in your mouth and to use it only when it serves a higher purpose than your momentary feeling. Every time you speak, you reinforce something within yourself. Whether you're aware of it or not, your words are training your mind. Repetition is not just memory, it is identity. What you say over and over again becomes the atmosphere you live in, the lens through which you see the world, and eventually the shape your life takes. You do not rise above the story you keep telling. If you say, "I'm tired," long enough, your body starts to carry exhaustion. If you say, "I can't," long enough, your confidence begins to shrink. If you say, "I always fail," even casually, your subconscious starts arranging life to make it true. The words may seem small in the moment, but their impact compounds. They become patterns, and patterns become reality. But this power works both ways. When you speak truth, not surface truth, but the deep, honest kind, something shifts. When you say, "I am learning," instead of "I am lost," you begin to notice the lessons. When you say, "I am healing," instead of "I am broken," your mind starts to reorganize around growth. When you speak with integrity, your path slowly begins to align with that integrity. The world around you reflects the rhythm within you. If that rhythm is constant fear, you start to notice only danger. If that rhythm is constant complaint, you attract more reasons to be unhappy. But if that rhythm is trust, grounded in clear speech, you begin to see opportunity in challenge and clarity where others see confusion. This is not about forcing positive thinking or avoiding hard truths. It is about being aware that your repeated words are programming your direction. You don't speak just to describe, you speak to design. You may not be able to control every thought, every emotion, or every situation. But you can begin with the words you allow to live in your mouth. Speak what builds, speak what aligns, speak what stretches you forward, because repetition does not ask permission, it simply becomes who you are. Choose wisely what you say again and again, because eventually your life will echo it back to you. Your ears are not just for hearing, they are gateways to your mind, and not everything that tries to enter deserves a place inside. Most people protect their homes, their phones, their secrets, but leave their minds open to whatever noise passes by. They let words full of fear, gossip, complaint, and distraction flow in freely, not realizing what enters through the ears does not just leave. It settles, it lingers, and eventually it speaks back. The mind is like water, it absorbs whatever is poured into it. If it is fed clarity, it becomes calm. If it is fed chaos, it becomes restless. And most of what enters begins without effort. A conversation nearby, a video playing in the background, a complaint repeated every morning. These things seem small, but over time they shape how you think, how you react, and how you speak to yourself. Not all poison comes in the form of attack. Some of it comes dressed as entertainment, as humor, as trend, but anything that feeds confusion, weakness, division, or self. Doubt must be treated with caution, not fear, but clarity. Just as you would not eat food that makes you sick. Why allow voices that weaken your spirit? To protect your ears means becoming intentional about your environment. It means noticing how you feel after certain conversations. It means asking, does this lift me or does it drain me? It means choosing what to listen to, not based on volume or popularity, but based on alignment with your values. Silence is better than noise that pollutes. Wisdom is better than distraction that entertains but leaves you empty. And when you start to guard what you hear, something subtle begins to happen. Your inner voice changes. You begin to hear your own thoughts more clearly. You begin to trust your own insight, because it is no longer being drowned out by echoes that don't belong to you. You do not need to fear the outside world, but you must remain the gatekeeper of your mind. Not everything deserves to be let in, not every voice deserves your attention, and not every sound is harmless. What you hear often becomes what you believe, and what you believe becomes how you live. So protect your ears the same way you protect your peace, carefully, firmly, without apology. There is a voice that speaks to you constantly, not out loud, but inside. It comments on what you do. It reminds you of what you failed at. It pushes you forward or holds you back. Most people never pause to question this voice. They simply live under its influence. But that voice, that inner dialogue, shapes the tone of your life more than anything else. If that voice is critical, your world feels heavy, no matter how light the day is. If that voice is fearful, everything feels like a risk. If that voice is angry, even peace feels like a threat. The way you speak to yourself becomes the atmosphere you carry, and it follows you into every room, every decision, every relationship. It doesn't matter how calm you appear to others if you are at war within yourself. You can wear a smile and speak kindly to the world, but if the inner voice is harsh, you still feel wounded. That internal tone becomes the filter through which everything passes: praise, failure, silence, uncertainty. It colors how you see yourself and how you respond to life, but you are not helpless to it. The inner voice is not your enemy. It is simply untrained. It repeats what it has heard from childhood, from others, from old fears, and it continues repeating because it has not yet been met with a stronger, wiser presence, your awareness. When you begin to notice the voice, you create space, and in that space you can shift it. Not by fighting it, but by guiding it. When it says you're not good enough, you don't need to argue, you just speak a truer word. I am growing. I am still learning. I am enough today. Slowly, consistently, you change the language of your life from the inside out. The inner voice is your closest companion. It walks with you when no one else does. It sees you in your silence, and so it must become your ally, not your oppressor. Speak to yourself the way you would speak to someone you love and want to see rise. Because that tone, gentle, honest, and grounded, is not just heard by your mind, it is felt by your spirit, and it becomes the rhythm of how you walk through the world. Feelings rise like waves, sudden, strong, and often overwhelming. They demand expression, they push at your mouth, urging to be released. But just because something is felt does not mean it should be spoken. Emotion is real, yes, but real does not mean final, and real does not always mean wise. There are moments when your feelings burn anger, frustration, sadness, and the first instinct is to throw them out through words. But what is raw is not always ready. Words spoken too soon carry the heat of the emotion, not the clarity of the truth. And once spoken, they cannot be unsaid. You may be forgiven, but the impact remains. To master the mouth is not to suppress what is true. It is to give your truth the space it needs to become clean before it is spoken. Just like water must be filtered to become drinkable, emotions must be sifted through awareness to become useful. This is not about silence from fear. It is about silence from strength, the strength to hold back what does not yet serve. Sometimes what you feel in a moment is only that, a moment. If you speak from it too quickly, you give it power it did not deserve. You give it permanence. But if you wait, if you sit with it, if you breathe through it, it changes. And when it changes, your words change too. Then what you say no longer adds to the noise, it brings understanding. You do not owe every emotion a voice. You owe it attention, yes, but not always a platform. The world does not need every passing thought. Your relationships do not need every burst of feeling. What they need is your presence, your discernment, your ability to feel deeply but act wisely. This is not the path of suppression. It is the path of refinement. Let the emotion come, let it teach. Let it pass through your awareness like a storm through the sky. But speak only when the sky begins to clear. Then what you say will not just be heard, it will be trusted. Because it came from stillness, not reaction, from wisdom, not wound. Your voice is not just sound. It is energy, it is movement. It is a force that travels further than you see and returns in ways you may never realize. Every word you speak creates an effect, sometimes visible, sometimes subtle, but never neutral. Words are not passive, they carry weight, they shift atmospheres, they change people, including you. When you speak with clarity, it creates alignment in those who listen. When you speak with anger, it transfers tension into the space. When you speak with compassion, even a few words soften hearts. That is the nature of energy. It is not bound by the moment. It lingers, echoes, and moves forward. Think of your voice like a stone dropped into still water. It creates ripples, and those ripples travel, touching the edges of things far beyond where the stone fell. A careless joke, a rushed criticism, a bitter comment, these may seem small, but the energy they release does not disappear. It finds a place to land, and the same is true of truth, of peace, of encouragement. A sincere word, spoken at the right moment, can realign someone who was drifting. A calm voice, in a room of tension, can anchor everyone. A blessing, spoken quietly, can shift the entire direction of a day, not because of volume, but because of presence. Your voice is a tool, a weapon, a bridge, a seed. How you use it is your responsibility. Whether you choose to raise it or lower it, speak it or hold it, color it with care or sharpen it with ego, every choice sends energy into the world. And what you send eventually finds its way back to you. There is no such thing as just saying something. Words, once released, do their work. They either build or break. So speak as one who understands the value of energy. Speak not just to fill space, but to direct it. Not just to express emotion, but to transmit intention. Let your voice be something people feel not just in their ears, but in their spirit. Not because it is loud, but because it is real. In the end, speaking is not just about being heard, it is about being understood by others and by yourself. The voice you use in the world, the silence you keep, the words you choose, and the thoughts you repeat, all of these shape the life you live. What you listen to, what you allow in, and what you release into the world becomes the energy that surrounds you. So do not take your voice lightly, and do not waste your silence. Speak when it serves truth. Be still when it guards peace. Listen deeply, not just with ears, but with presence, because every word is a choice, every silence is a signal, and every moment is an opportunity to speak, not to impress, not to react, but to align your inner world with what is meaningful, grounded, and true. The world doesn't need more noise. It needs more clarity. Let your voice be that. Let your life speak.